After the defeat of the Persians by the Greek army, all of the men of a town called Karyai, who fought on the side of the Persians, were killed. Their town ruined and their wives were took into slavery. To mark these women as wives of the fallen men, the triumphant army forced them to keep their robes to be shamed and burdened by the wrongdoing of their state. The Caryatides, or the Maidens of Karyai as they were called, are still remembered to this day by the work of a Greek architect that reflected the sin of Karyai and burden of these women in his architecture. He placed them as statues to hold the weight of his public building, currently visited by more than 1 million tourists each year. The fall of Karyai is still remembered to this day due to the work of an architect that truly understood the importance of history. This story is taken from the first book on architecture, written by Vitruvius, who lived in the Roman Empire and was the architect consultant for both Julius Caesar and Emperor Augustus. In his book, he argued that the path of a successful architect should be based on several pillars. The first pillar is history. It's used to present the culture and the social behavior of the crowd, the state, and the civilization as a whole. As with the story of the Karyai, architecture is filled with long-lasting buildings, designed by architects who truly understood history. Art, drawing, and geometry is the second pillar to transform ideas into architectural shapes. Philosophy is another tool in the toolbox. The architect that studies philosophy can understand higher meanings and introduce even higher purpose to his shapes. At the time of the writing, understanding the ways of the gods was essential to build temples. However, philosophy can also help the architect to shape his own personality and to be honest in his designs. Physics give the architect the ability to interact with the elements and forces of nature, such as wind, earth, and gravity. Music, to represent a vocal interpretation of math and harmony. Both are pillars of architectural design. Theater, to show the architect knowledge to sound behavior and propagation. Law, to follow the state's rules and to avoid unnecessary conflict with neighboring lots. Medicine, to understand the human anatomy and the elements of our health that are crucial for the well-being of the buildings or city's occupants. And astronomy, to map out the sun path and to direct it into his buildings. Vitruvius was wise and clearly understood that any person will need a full lifetime to be an expert on any of these topics. However, as the architect that may have shaped architecture forever, Vitruvius asks his readers to know just enough to express the right judgment so they can create beautiful cities and to play a positive role in the creation of a happy and strong society. The 6 fundamental principles of architecture. Vitruvius. After laying out the path for being a successful architect according to Vitruvius in our previous videos, we will go through his ideas on the fundamental principles of architecture as pointed out in his writings. Vitruvius believed that architecture depends on 6 principles, each with its own weight and value on the projects. The first one is order. He considered that a building is made out of small parts or modules, where the selection of these modules will give the building order and proper form. To lay out these modules, the architect will require what is called arrangement, or the process of laying out the ground plane, which is the outlines for the surfaces of the building. The elevation, to draw pictures of the building facades in detail. And perspective, for sketching the front of the building while projecting the sides into the background. To achieve good order and arrangement, Vitruvius asked the architects to rely on careful thinking, to pay attention to all the details, and to use innovation in solving each problem. The third and fourth principles are harmony and symmetry. These 2 principles are connected and each move the project towards beauty. A beautiful design should have its height suited to its width and length. Symmetry is the relational beauty between each element of the design. The Vitruvian Man by Leonardo da Vinci is inspired by this concept. In order to explain symmetry, Vitruvius used the human body analogy, where harmony and symmetry are found between the forearm, foot, palm, finger, and all the other body parts. And the same concept applies to the perfect building. The last 2 principles are propriety and economy. While the first 4 foundations addressed form, these 2 are for the functional aspect of the design. A beautiful project that lacks a proper functional thinking is considered a failure. Propriety is respecting the context of the project, such as opening the top of the Roman temples to have a direct access to the heavens and their gods. This principle asks the architects to understand the usage and the location of their projects. And economy is about properly managing the project and using a balance between cost and common sense, where the ordinary home will be different than that of a wealthy man or statesman. Please let us know what you think of this video, and if you have a certain topic in architecture that you want us to make a video for. Subscribe to the channel and watch our other videos if you're interested in growing your architectural knowledge, and thank you for watching.